We move to the next news video, and it starts with an interesting bit of news from Nick Khan, as Nick Khan spoke about the potential of a fourth brand within WWE. And all Nick Khan had to say about that was that they will not discount the idea of opening up a fourth brand for WWE, which is something they spoke about a couple months ago with the potential Lucha Libre brand for WWE. But Nick Khan said that they need to situate things with the media rights deals for Raw, SmackDown, and NXT before potentially talking about a new brand within WWE. But they did not, again, Nick Khan did not discount the potential idea. He just said now's not the time, and that maybe in the not too distant future, it could be something that WWE does. Imagine another brand or another set of programming for WWE. I mean, that would be, I don't want to say it would be a little much because it depends, you would need to make it a specific show. But, I mean, that would, hey, props to Nick Khan for leaving the door open. I'll say that. Props to Nick Khan for leaving the door open. I'll say that. As we move, though, to WWE again, we got more news on a potential Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes main event of Summerslam. But we got to jump over to AEW for a second, as there's a lot of news to talk about with AEW. As Forbidden Door is around the corner on June the 25th. Yes, we have June 17th coming up first. June 17th, the debut of AEW Collision, which is actually this Saturday. And I'm going to say it now that we will do a preview and predictions for the event this Saturday, AEW Collision live. The premiere episode of AEW Collision, and the main event is set to be CM Punk and FTR versus Bullet Club Gold, Jay White and Juice Robinson, as well as the Ring of Honor World Television Champion Samoa Joe rounding out that tag team. It will be, to my knowledge, the first time that Joe and Punk are going to share a ring since their days in Ring of Honor. But speaking of CM Punk and speaking of AEW Collision, Forbidden Door, like I said, is right around the corner, and there have been rumors, a buzz, that Punk will be in action at Forbidden Door, and that there's a potential for Punk to be in action against Kenta. But at least right now, Kenta has said that AEW has not backed the money truck up to his house yet, so the match will not happen because he is not going to do the match unless the price is right. I mean, yes, he could be warding us off and keeping us on our toes, but I genuinely do believe that Kenta's being legit here, and that basically the match ain't happening. Because also, if the match was happening, in my opinion, that you would figure that AEW would at least spend some time to build it up, which I don't know that they have the ability to do it. But at the same time, I think I said this with a previous Punk match. That there's a certain event in August coming up. So the fact of the matter is, if anything, AEW also has the idea to put some big matches there in August at All In for Wembley Stadium. Just imagine Kenta versus Punk at All In. I think that's something I would enjoy. Also, speaking of Forbidden Door, Stardom has been in discussions with AEW for a potential inclusion in the event, but because of the fact that Stardom is having a show that weekend as well, not that day, but that weekend as well, it is unlikely that Stardom will likely be a part of the event, just because of travel would make things impossible, or travel would make things a little bit difficult, not impossible, as there is a potential for certain talent to be included in the event, but AEW and Stardom are just trying to figure out what talent can be included. and work from there. As Mayu Iwatani is somebody that I think AEW should be looking at, or also the IWGP World Women's Champion, whose name is escaping me, unfortunately. I do apologize. But, you got her, you got Mayu Iwatani, and of course the original plan was Mercedes Moné, but Mercedes is injured currently. I do think there's a possibility that you could, but you could have Stardom included in the event, but if you do, you have to rely on promo packages, you have to rely on hype, you have to rely on telling a story about why this person matters and why the people should care about this person, and not just expect that this person is going to be known by the audience, because honest to God, they probably will not be known by the audience. It's that simple. Because just because it's wrestling doesn't mean everybody knows it. Especially because it's wrestling across the Pacific from one of the companies that are not really known outside of in most circles. But that's just my opinion. Overall, I do hope for the growth of Stardom that they could be somewhere included in a future AEW event. If it's not Forbidden Door, then maybe All In. But also, we hit up a little bit more on the AEW front as AEW Fight Forever has been hit with some criticism. And the reason why AEW Fight Forever has been hit with some criticism is because of the lacking creative suite. I mean, I will just point out that in WWE's first offering, which was Warzone, well, actually, WWE's first offering was In Your House. But I will even go back to WWE's other offerings, the first offerings that I remember with creative, which is Warzone. To say that Warzone's creative suite was lacking, and I know, it's 1998, that was 1998, it's not 2023, that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is, it was the WWE's first game. And you got to remember, this is AEW's first game. It's not their 15th game or their 32nd game. It's their first game. So you just got to keep that in mind, as far as they're not going to have the type of creative suite that WWE has perfected over the last 20 years, because this is their first offering. It's not their 15th or 20th. It's their first, and it should get better if they do more offerings. But, if that's the biggest criticism of the game, you should count your blessings, in my opinion. If that's the biggest criticism of the game, the fans should be counting their blessings. But also, gameplay-wise and overall, the game has received a lot of praise and should be something that a lot of fans consider, that it should be considered worth the wait for a lot of fans. Which, props to AEW, because a lot of companies don't ever get the opportunity to make their first game. So props to AEW for getting to this point. You know what I mean? Props to AEW for getting to this point. But also, speaking of AEW, unfortunately, after last weekend after this past weekend and the introduction of AEW Collision coming this weekend, the House Rules House Show Tour are set to be off. The house show is set to be off the road for the time being, as the introduction of AEW Collision makes it a little bit more difficult, or will make it a little bit more difficult for AEW to run house shows, especially with the likelihood that if AEW ran house shows, that the major names would not be a part of the house show, and it would make it a little harder to sell tickets to the house shows if the big names are not there. So we could see, it's not that AEW's house show loop could be done for the, could be, it's not likely that their house show loop will be done forever. It is just likely that their house show loop will be done for now. And also, the last bit of AEW news is a bit of an interesting news, and that is coming from Billy Gunn, who spoke about the idea of Sean Waltman potentially joining AEW, and the fact that that apparently it's been something that they've been working on for a while now, or trying to make happen, but it doesn't seem like it will happen, as I don't know if Sean doesn't want to, ruin his WWE run, or potential returns to WWE, or maybe Sean just doesn't want to work for a major company right now. But either way, I do agree with Billy Gunn that I think Sean Waltman would be an asset to AEW if he did decide to go join AEW. But now we get some possibly amazing news, and that is, I mean, I think it's amazing news, but you may have a difference in opinion. Well, first, a little nugget, a little side nugget of consternation is that the King and Queen of the Ring are right now held in the back pocket of WWE executives for a potential branding event of a future Saudi show. There is no plan right out of the gate of when WWE will have the King and Queen of the Ring again, but it is likely that if they need a specific brand or specialty for a future Saudi show, that's when they will turn to the King and Queen of the Ring. Now, we wrap this up quick. Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam could potentially be reviving an old classic gimmick match from the grave, and that is the Texas Bull Rope match. It could be a Texas Bull Rope match at SummerSlam between Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes. There is no guarantee that it will happen, but I'm sure within the next month or so, we will find out 100% what the final match between Brock and Cody will be. And now we move to probably by far one of the best news stories I've heard in a long time, as Steve Maclin lost the Impact Wrestling World Championship at Against All Odds to Impact Wrestling veteran and all-around great guy, Alex Shelley. Alex Shelley is a former multi-time champion in Impact Wrestling and one of the founding members of the X Division. I couldn't be happier for Alex Shelley, and I couldn't, show more gratitude to Impact Wrestling for giving another deserving member of the wrestling world his first chance to be the flag bearer and to be the man that carries the winner's purse as Impact Wrestling champion. Alex Shelley, congratulations. With that being said, though, that is it for me, and I will see you in the next video.